All right, looks like everything's good to go. We're going to go ahead and get started here. Thanks for joining. My name is Kevin Gilmore with the National Weather Service New Orleans Baton Rouge office located in Slidell, Louisiana. We're going to be doing a quick update now on Hurricane Ida, some of the latest impacts expected across the area. And we're going to kind of go over a lot of details here on this specific Facebook Live discussing what type of impacts we can be expecting coming up here starting tomorrow, it looks like. We're trying to really message a lot to people that today's the day to really get your preparedness done. We're going to show you why, because we got quite the serious situation when it comes to a very significant hurricane possible here in the very shortly, possibly even becoming a major hurricane later today, if not early tomorrow. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it here and show you what we got going with how the storm is looking visually right now using GOES 16 satellite imagery. So if you can see this, this is a satellite image loop from the GOES 16 geostationary satellite centered over the Gulf of Mexico. And it's very obvious to point out that obvious counterclockwise circulation you see in the middle there. That's Ida and is really starting to show very good indications of strengthening. Um, the storm is again very symmetric. It's got kind of a very good outflow to it, and even a little bit of an eye is starting to form now. So that's a good indication to us that the storm is strengthening. You see a little bit of a haze right in the middle. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're starting to notice, that the storm is starting to strengthen. It came off of Cuba. Cuba is located about right here. So it came off as it tracked across the Isle of Youth, came over to southeast parts of the Gulf of Mexico, and it's now continuing to track off to the northwest as expected. The whole thing here is there's not going to be any types of changes here. We're not expecting any major changes in the forecast. The storm will continue off towards the northwest, making a direct impact into southeastern Louisiana. We are really concerned about our area where we cover in southeast Louisiana and southern Mississippi, where there could be some very significant impacts. So as you see, this is the whole system right here, kind of a very classic looking imagery that we're looking at, a visible satellite. And if we switch just one quick moment, if we're going to switch to infrared, let's see if we can switch to that one. It may take a quick moment. There you go, switching to infrared satellite. We can see that we're seeing a lot of convection bubbling around the center of the now what's formed kind of a ragged eye. We're going to see this probably fill up around. The convection is going to look a lot better and start wrapping around the eye. And we could have a very symmetric looking hurricane as the storm continues to strengthen off to the northwest. And again, we remain to be very concerned about this situation. We're going to see conditions going downhill across southeast Louisiana starting late tonight to early tomorrow. So we're showing the satellite imagery to show that the storm is there. This is no longer a possibility from when we were watching the storm develop from computer model guidance back down in the Western Caribbean or the Central Caribbean in the early days. This is now a real hurricane, and computer models are in very good agreement that this storm will continue off towards the northwest and strengthen. So this is going to happen. This is no longer a possibility. We're now looking at the reality of a major hurricane impacting portions of southeast Louisiana. So let's go ahead and jump back here and talk about what we got. But first, I want to actually bring this up, and I used to show this in Facebook Lives before. If you've watched me do Facebook Lives during severe weather events, when I've done these in the past few years, I've always talked about how important it is to know where you live on a map. This is the area that we cover of southeast Louisiana and southern Mississippi. Now, I know we have a lot of friends from other areas across the southeast United States or possibly across the country or the world who are watching right now. But we want to make this very clear that for our office, which is the National Weather Service New Orleans Baton Rouge office, where we cover is southeast Louisiana and southern Mississippi, or southwestern Mississippi and coastal Mississippi. So that includes major cities like Baton Rouge and New Orleans, going across to Pascagoula, Gulfport, Biloxi. We include Macomb, Houma, all surrounding cities, Hammond. All of y'all are the area that we specifically cover. So the importance of why I'm showing you this is that I'm going to be showing you here coming up shortly a lot of graphics. And I don't have the time on this update to call out every single information, every single city that someone's going to be wanting to know. What's going to be the impacts today up in Independence? What about Slidell? What about Pearl River? I can't sit here and tell you the forecast for every single location. Your job for me is to find your location on the map and determine the risk that you are in. So know the county, know the parish that you live in, and sometimes even I've said during severe weather events, know the county or parish that surrounds you. That also helps you have good situational awareness if a storm is coming to impact your area. So be thinking about that. Keep this in the back of your mind. Be geographically savvy here. As I go through the next few maps, I want you to know which cities around you, what county or parish, and what county and parish is around you as I go through this. So that will help you determine what to expect when it comes to significant hazards here coming up with Hurricane Ida. So, as I just mentioned, that is our office there in Southeast Louisiana. We are one of 122 National Weather Service offices across the United States that serve the public and partners alike. So we have offices as well to our west, Lake Charles, Louisiana, to our north, Jackson, Mississippi, and to our east, National Weather Service Mobile. So if you're watching from those offices and you're interested about local weather pertaining to those areas, please follow them on Facebook and Twitter where you can see there at NWS Mobile, Jackson MS, and Lake Charles. So they have impacts possible as well from the system, if not likely from the system. It'll be a little bit different from the impacts that we'll see, but still impacts are going to be very likely across the entire area that you see here. So if you're interested in weather that's surrounding our office, be sure to follow these offices on Facebook and Twitter, and check out their main website, weather.gov, and that'll also point you to these locations as well. So now let's go ahead and jump right into it with the latest of Hurricane Ida from the National Hurricane Center as of 1 p.m. Central Daylight Time. This is the latest update we have from the National Hurricane Center, showing maximum sustained winds of, wow, already up to 100 miles per hour. So rapid strengthening is already occurring. And as expected, the storm will become a major hurricane shortly, later today, at the latest tonight or possibly early tomorrow, and has its sights set on Southeast Louisiana. I cannot stress enough how significant of a situation this is. There's hurricane warnings in effect. We are expecting the potential or the likelihood of significant life-threatening impacts. Where you see there in the red text on the right, we're not saying possible, we're saying will occur, because we want people to take this extremely seriously. We're talking about 4 threats that people need to be concerned about here. This is going to be widespread wind damage. That's going to be power outages and potential damage to structures. We're talking about life-threatening storm surge for coastal areas, and even a little bit further away from coastal areas, we could see significant inundation. Excessive rainfall, we're talking about widespread flash flooding conditions, and even isolated tornadoes. Those 4 are going to be the most significant hazards that we're going to have to focus on the most here, and we're going to be talking a lot about that coming up here in just a quick moment. So again, there's the latest on Ida and what we're going to be expecting here locally. No major changes to the track at all. In fact, pretty much no track change is what I'm seeing here. But the intensity is increasing, making this a more increasing serious situation. So let's go ahead and start with the hurricane and tropical storm warnings that are in effect for our area. Pretty much all of Southeast Louisiana is under a hurricane warning. That means it's coming. Now, for Southwest Mississippi and Southern Mississippi, or Southern and Coastal Mississippi, you're under tropical storm warning, as the storm for Coastal Mississippi will be a little bit further to your west, and where you'll see the potential for sustained tropical storm force winds. And as the storm continues further north, passing Baton Rouge, the storm will weaken some and will likely be downgraded to a tropical storm by the time it impacts areas like Macomb, Woodville, other areas across southwestern Mississippi. So, but if you're in Southeast Louisiana or even Southern Louisiana, Lafayette, Baton Rouge, Covington, Slidell, Hammond, I can't name every single one of them, but that's why I said before, it's important for you to know the city and parish and county that you live in. You'll be able to determine right now if you're under hurricane warning or a tropical storm warning. You're going to be under one of the two if you're watching that's in our area. And the big threat here is going to be that sustained, strong, damaging winds. Now, talking about the difference between a watch and a warning, I'll go over this real quick. We were under a watch, but now we're under a warning because it's now within that 36-hour time frame. And now we're talking less than 12 hours possible for some areas. So we're getting closer to that's starting hour for everything to begin here. That's why we're under hurricane warning, and there are no longer any more watches here. So again, talking more, the first point we're going to hit is going to be the damaging wind, because that is a very serious, significant risk. Now, the scale you see on the left is color-coded from yellow to orange to red to purple. There's different threats for these colors as they go up in different colors. The lower threat, but it's still notable, is the yellow colors of 39 to 57 miles per hour. That's around a weak to a moderate tropical storm strength wind speeds we're expecting. That's Gulfport and Pascagoula. You could still see some locally higher gusts, but around that range. So Gulfport, Pascagoula, Biloxi, we're saying 39 to 57 mile per hour wind gust potential. It gets higher as it increases as you go towards the west, which makes sense as you're getting closer to where the storm is forecast to make landfall. Now we're talking about Bay St. Louis, Slidell, Pearl River, Poplarville, Macomb, Bush, all these areas that I just talked about, Franklinton. You're going to be in that area where you're going to expect the potential for strong tropical storm force winds. So we're talking about now up to 73 miles per hour potential, but you could have hurricane force wind gusts in any localized heavier rain band. So as you get past those colors and get to the reds, we're talking now hurricane force winds at greater than 74 miles per hour in the red color. That's where we're going to say that's where the likelihood of power outages really goes up fast. Those are cities, Hammond, Centerville, getting down to very close to New Orleans and down close to Boothville. That very thin corridor, it goes up very fast. And then you get to the purple areas, and that is where we're expecting the potential, or excuse me, the likelihood of damaging widespread winds across the area. This is going to lead to structural damage, widespread power outages, trees down. It's going to be widespread trees down all over the place. That's going to make traveling inaccessible. That includes Baton Rouge, Jackson. That's getting all the way all across Iberville Parish, Point Coupee, West and East Feliciana, getting down to Assumption, Ascension, St. James, St. Charles, St. John, Lafourche, Terrebonne Parish. I may be missing a few others there. And this does, and I see that New Orleans is on the line there. It doesn't matter. Do not pay attention to that fine line. If you're on that fine line, expect the worst. So that's a large portion of our area is going to be expecting widespread significant wind damage. If you're pretty much anywhere in our area, I say expect you to be without power. By this point, hopefully you're already prepared. If not, you're preparing right now. You need to be prepared for this. If you're not prepared right now, you need to be right now. You need to expect long duration power outages, especially the areas that you see in red and purple. Very long duration power outages. This could be a very large impact to modern infrastructure for some of these areas, especially down the Houma and Pierre Park, and even towards Thibodaux, Lafayette. This is going to make some places inaccessible for an extended period of time. If you're choosing to stay, you're putting your life at risk and those coming to rescue your lives at risk. And in this case, if you're under mandatory evacuation, you need to be out. There's no question about it. Don't even ask a question. Mandatory, get out. If you're voluntary, make the right decision based out of the guidance that I'm showing you here. But hopefully you'll make the right decision. But if you're in mandatory, I'm telling you right now, get out. Especially if you're down towards Houma and down towards, of course, Grand Isle. You're all in mandatory evacuation. You should have been out. Thibodaux, out of here. Anywhere near Houma, again, Pierre Park. You should not be anywhere near the storm. Do not mess around with this one. You don't want to put your life in danger. I'm telling you, even Baton Rouge, this is not going to be a good situation. This is going to be long duration power outages. If you live in a house or an apartment or anywhere, a mobile home that has trees near it, and you have some either softwood pine or any type of tree nearby, we're talking about widespread widespread tree damage. This is going to take out a lot of things. This is going to take out power lines. This is not like a tornado where it's a single track, where you see the mile per hours there. That's 110 miles per hour across Baton Rouge. Okay, that's the potential for 110 mile per hour winds. That is that's like a tornado. Think about it like a tornado in a way. So a tornado is a singleized point, but when you've seen tornado damage before, when it hits that singleized point, it's devastating. You see mobile homes damage. That's why I want you to take this extremely seriously. If you're in that purple area, have that plan right now. If not this afternoon, right now. Hurry up and do it. We'll get through this storm. I don't mean to sound too dramatic here, but I kind of have to there to kind of make my voice really relay to people the seriousness of the situation. So we're going to go ahead here now where I'm talking about preparations to be completed today, because from the National Hurricane Center, the earliest reasonable time of arrival for tropical storm force winds are going to be increasing across the area. It's hard to see this graphic. I apologize about that, but we're going to be seeing late Saturday night to early Sunday morning. It's going to be when the winds start to creep up across coastal areas of southeast Louisiana. Continuing to increase across the South Shore, home into New Orleans. That's going to be after midnight Sunday into daybreak Sunday morning. So what you'll start to notice when you wake up Sunday is it's going to be breezy. It's going to get even gusty outside. Trees are going to be swaying, and we may have some tropical rain bands, outer bands from the system already coming up from the south. And the number 3 there, that's after daybreak Sunday morning through Sunday afternoon. This is the earliest onset of the tropical storm force wind potential. So by this time frame, we're talking about Sunday morning and the Sunday afternoon, especially by Sunday afternoon is where we're going to see the winds steadily increase. Now, with these rain bands coming up from the south, we could see some locally higher gusts ahead of time. And we have to watch too as the storm's approaching. We may have some storms rotating, especially near the coast. We may be putting out special marine warnings for water spouts and maybe even some tornado warnings as well. So keep that in the back of your mind. Now we're going to jump into storm surge because this is a very significant risk. You see the values there. If you live anywhere near the coast and you're in a vulnerable area to even typical storm surge or typical higher than normal tides, hopefully, if you're listening to me, if you live in a location that you get flooding from higher than normal tides, hopefully, if you're listening to me right now, you are no longer there. We don't want you to be anywhere near the coast in this situation. Mandatory evacuations are all over the place. I know one's for Terrebonne Parish, surrounding parishes as well, all under mandatory evacuations. You don't need to be near the coast. Don't even think about it. As you go up towards Lake Pontchartrain, we're calling 4 to 7 feet, 3 to 5 feet Lake Maurepas, and then it still stays high across coastal Mississippi. You got to think about as the storm approaches, we're talking about a counterclockwise circulation, a counterclockwise motion with it. So that's a strong south to north fetch of waves, and that's going to be battering, crashing waves that can be just as damaging as high winds are going to be approaching towards the coast, impacting Lake Bourne, coastal Hancock, Jackson, and even coastal Jackson and Harrison and Hancock counties. Even coastal Jackson County, you're saying 4 to 7 feet. Those are still significant impacts. Even for our friends over in Mobile to Mobile Bay and Dauphin Island. We're talking about significant impacts there, 2 to 4 feet. That's still going to be high surf. So that's going to be a major impact there as well, where there's high surf advisories in effect across the area. So even for our friends back to the east, Lake Charles, Vermilion Bay, 6 to 9 feet. It does go down as you get to Lake Charles, all the way to Sabine Pass at the Texas-Louisiana border. That's 2 to 4 feet over there. But as you can see where the storm's got its bullseye, where the worst impacts, it's going to be from Morgan City all the way to Ocean Springs, Mississippi, and all throughout Lake Bourne, Lake Pontchartrain, and Lake Maurepas. So please take this extremely seriously. Now we're taking what I just showed you and we're showing it more in that same graphical format I showed you before about that damaging wind potential. These are the same color fields. So as you see, there's a lot of purple there. I was very, very extreme with my wording when I was talking about the high winds, and I'm going to be the same with surge, especially in the areas you see purple. Even in red, and that includes all around Lake Pontchartrain. And as the storm comes north, all of that winds and the waves and higher seas funnel in towards Lake Bourne and the Mississippi Sound and comes through the Wrigley's, floods that area, and comes into Lake Pontchartrain and gets higher and higher, and we see inundation that continues west into Lake Maurepas, and that's where it hits areas of lower areas around Ponchatoula, down towards Livingston Parish, areas that we typically see higher than normal tides from, or if we have like some type of a coastal flooding situation from strong east to west winds. Sometimes we see flooding in around that area. This case, you will be flooded. There's no question about it. There's the same forecast inundation values I was saying before. The words here are devastating to catastrophic, life-threatening storm surge in purple. Still extensive, very serious storm surge in orange and red. And those are the only colors we have, and that's all I'm going to talk about there. Storm surge warnings, they're in effect because of exactly what I just talked about. Same inundation issues, expect road closures, widespread inundation, and I was already talking about the battering waves. So take the storm extremely seriously when it comes to storm surge. The third threat here, forecast flood with flash flooding risk with Ida. Again, we got the same colors here. We're maxed off the scale. Potential for extreme flooding rain for a good section of southeast Louisiana, New Orleans, Houma, Baton Rouge, Hammond, Pierre Park, Gonzales, all these areas, even Covington. What's going to happen is when the storm comes up towards the coast, areas near the eye wall, and just to the right, we're going to have bands of south and north oriented heavy rain showers with extreme winds that are going to probably not be moving much. And if these bands are not moving much, I think natives from southeast Louisiana are very much aware when rain doesn't move and it's heavy, we get flooding. If it stays there, we get extreme flooding, and it happens very fast. But this risk extends all the way to coastal Mississippi, Bay St. Louis, Biloxi, Gulfport, Centerville, up to Macomb. You're all included in this risk as well. Again, know your county, know your parish. If you're in any of these reds or purples, you take this extremely seriously. Because of that, a flash flood watch is in effect for the potential. What we're talking about for an average range, I'm going to go ahead and jump to the next slide, of what we're talking about for the rainfall potential. If you're looking for an exact value, or at least a range of values, we're talking about 6 to 8 up to Macomb to 8 to 10. But generally speaking, I really don't want people to pay too much attention to these ranges. I know they're on the map. What we're trying to say here is on an average, we're expecting 8 to 16 inches of rainfall with likely locally higher amounts. It depends on where these bands set up. For now, when the center of the storm is forecast to make landfall for where it's going, those bands will be near the eye wall or in the eye wall into the east, which includes a kind of a corridor from Houma north, almost following I-55, including Hammond and Livingston. So keep that in mind. This could move a little bit. These bands could propagate outwards from the center out towards the east and become stationary sometimes and produce damaging winds, flash flooding, and isolated tornadoes as well. It just depends on where this sets up. This is just showing you the highest likelihood of seeing this heavy rainfall from Houma up to Baton Rouge. So flooding rain is a very serious situation here. And tornadoes. Now, we just mentioned that about these bands that are being kind of going around the area. As the forecast will stay on track, we will be seeing these bands rotating around the outside of the storm, rotating around the center, and they will become stationary. We will have what's called embedded cells inside of these bands, and they will be rotating. Because within a storm like this that's spinning so tightly, you get actually, believe it or not, a lot of wind shear, or what we call low-level wind shear. And with it being so moist and unstable out, we get that, believe it or not, we get a tornado risk. Now, this is not the same type of tornado risk we see with passing cold fronts and squall lines and very large supercells like we get sometimes in the winter to the spring months and sometimes fall months. These are going to be smaller, shallow cells. When I say shallow, I mean shallower in the atmosphere. Sometimes they won't even have any thunder with them, so these hardly will be any thunderstorms. And these could produce very fast moving, weak water spouts on the water that can come on shore as a weak tornado. Now, where these tornadoes hit could be devastating for that local area. We want to keep that in the back of your mind. We're not expecting a widespread tornado outbreak, but there could be a swath of small, weak tornadoes that if you're under a tornado warning and you get the tornado, it could damage your home. For example, if you're over in Gulfport and you're expecting tropical storm force winds, yet you get a tornado warning and a tornado hits your location, it could be just as devastating as the extreme winds farther to the west. You could see winds of 100 to 110 plus miles per hour out of some of these stronger tornadoes that are coming across the area. Now, I want to mention another thing there on the very bottom part of the impacts and safety is make sure you have a reliable way to receive warning should they become required. What I want to really add to that is that due to the fact that there's going to be widespread power outages, you need to make sure that if your reliable way of getting warnings is a weather radio, make sure you have fresh batteries. If your reliable way of receiving warnings is wireless emergency alerts or anything on your phone, if you follow Twitter and Facebook, or you follow your favorite weather app, or follow whatever on your phone to get weather warnings, make sure you have a portable charger for your phone, or just make sure your phone is charged. Charge your phone overnight tonight. 100% sure. Charge your phone overnight tonight so that you'll have a charged phone throughout the day. And if you're under a tornado warning, we do this for a reason. It's to save lives. I can't emphasize that enough. Take these tornado warnings seriously. Unfortunately, there may be a lot of them. And if you get that tornado warning, go to your safe place. Again, just make sure you have that reliable source of weather information. Now, we're talking about getting a plan. This is what we're talking about here. This is what you should have in your kit already by now. That's a flashlight, extra batteries. I was just talking about a cell phone charger. If you have some type of portable cell phone charger, cash, things like that. Hopefully you have some good supply of food. This is what you need to have at hand. Just expect a long duration power outage here for days. Now, if you happen to have a kit from last year when unfortunately, we got inundated with all different types of storms. We were in the cone at least many, many, many times. Too many times to remember. It was just a blur for some of our meteorologists here. Make sure you refresh your kit. Batteries can go old. Some food can go old. Just go through it and make sure. Don't wait until the power is out for you to go through and find your kit, dig through it, and go, ah, man, my flashlight's dead. And then you're stuck. Have candles. Anything like that, and you'll be good. Plan for your pets. Hopefully, you've already realized this. If you've already evacuated and you already found a good place for your pet, bring your furry friend along or make sure they're in a shelter. Think of this now. If you're on the fence about leaving, remember that not all shelters accept pets. Think of that ahead. Make sure the shelter that you want to go to accepts pets. So also not pictured here too is I want to also, for those who have family and friends and relatives that live across anywhere in the areas that I was talking about, elderly, call up on them, make sure they're doing okay, make sure they're watching this. Any family and friends, if you don't live in Southeast Louisiana, but your family and friends do, just give them a quick call and say, are you going to be okay? Are you ready? Do you need anything? Remind them of the information that you just saw here if they're not watching right now. So especially I'm talking about, again, the elderly, give them a call. People that are a little harder of hearing or harder getting information, give them the information that I just gave you. Pick up the phone and give them a call and just make sure they're aware of what's going on. So again, I'm going to jump back here to show you the satellite imagery one last time, showing you now 100 mile per hour winds sustain on the storm. So we're going to kind of show you again as I kind of circle out that we're starting to see a little bit of an eye forming. Now there's your storm right there, and you see that little bit of a speck right there. That's going to be the eye that's forming. Now we're going to see this circulation. We're going to see these bubble up of convection going around it as it wraps around with time. It's going to fill out, and the storm's going to you're going to see brighter colors as the storm continues off towards the northwest. And when it does, it's still going to impact parts of Southeast Louisiana. We got Southeast Louisiana right here. Nothing is stopping the storm from continuing to strengthen. Nothing is stopping the storm that's continuing from continuing towards the northwest. So that's why we want you to take the storm as seriously as possible. So that's all the information that we have as of 1 o'clock. We're going to be doing a lot more Facebook Lives. I'm likely going to do one other one in the next few hours for anyone who may have missed this. So be sure to join us there when you can. We'll give you then the latest information that we have it. By that time, we would have already, when I start I'm thinking about 4 o'clock. When I start the 4 o'clock, the 4 p.m. National Hurricane Center update's already going to be out. So we'll see a new update from the National Hurricane Center, and we'll go back over some of these threats again for that Facebook Live. So be sure to catch us then. If there's someone that you want them to watch this stream, spread the word. Tell them about how to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. If they don't have anything like this, just send them the link. We also are streaming live on YouTube as well. You can watch that. You don't have to have a Facebook account. So we're trying to be as flexible as we can to get the message out by hitting multiple platforms. And your goal, if you're watching this, if you live in the area, to take action. If you don't live in the area, but you know people who live here, pick up the phone and check on them. The key here is that we're talking about is preparedness and take action. Preparedness, that should already be going on right now. And take action should also be going on right now. Today's the day. Don't wait till tomorrow. I cannot stress that enough. This is going to be a life-threatening situation for parts of the area. So again, it's hard to be it's real hard to be this serious, but I'm trying to really push the message across here, how serious this really is. So take my tone very seriously about this, and we're doing this for a reason. We're doing this so the message gets out. That is our mission in the National Weather Service, the protection of lives and property. I underline the part about lives. We want to do this. So we get these hurricanes come. We've had them before in history. The sun will shine when it's gone. So let's just get through it and everything will be all right. So we're going to go ahead and end it there. And again, I promise to do another one later here this afternoon, and we'll meet you back for that next update. So thank you for attending. I appreciate your paying attention for all this. And like I said, we'll do another update soon. So thank you very much, and we'll talk with you later.